Price of a flagon of rice, the wind buffs the cabin, the scoop of your life, no more willing to look to the confuse what you can of the ending and revise on the spy. Tonight, I plug the distress too uptight. And watch what I say as it flutters away to where all this emotion is good time to be, not to educate somebody's fright. You can unlearn all the facts that I've learned. I sat in their chairs with my senses burned. The torture of chalk dust collects on my tongue. Thoughts follow my vision and dance in the sun. All my vessel kisses as they come slowly undone. In this prison I'm marble craze, the ranothramic microgaze. Ignored it into my amazement, rode to Paris in 12 days. This is the work of a beautiful papyrus, stranded for a moment on the ocean of Osiris, absorbing all she can for every member of her clan, expanding exponentially like some recursive virus. She take me on, I never fail to ride on the redundant rail. Cause though I know she's such a track, there's always one to take me back. And through the bedroom door intrude a fretful frown is full of mood. Cause though I never really stand that tall, she told my frame, she watched me fall. This is the work of a beautiful Paris, stranded for a moment on the ocean of Osiris, absorbing all she can for every member of her clan, expanding exponentially like some recursive virus. So maybe I could be a fly and feet arachnid as I die, and through the ritual from within the silken tunnel that they spin. Cause through the bedroom door intrude a fretful frown and spoiled mood. Cause though I never really stand that tall, she tilled my frame, she watched me fall. This is the work of a beautiful virus, stranded for a moment on the ocean of Osiris, absorbing all she can for every member of her clan. This is the work of a beautiful virus, stranded for a moment on the ocean of Osiris, absorbing all she can for every member of her clan. This is the work of a beautiful virus, stranded for a moment on the ocean of Osiris, absorbing all she can for every member of her clan. can hear it sing. Well, I'm playing an old tune called Soldier Joy. I'm playing one called the Boss Boy. And prettiest of all was Gentleman. To me, that's where the fiddling began. Late in the evening, bouncing down on the hill above the town. But the fiddle down the ring, and talk, you can hear it sing. Forget that wonderful day when Uncle Phil was called away. He hung up his fiddle, he hung up his bow, he knew it was time for him to go. Late in the evening, bouncing down high on the hill above the town. Little fiddle on how to ring, head talk, you can hear it sing. Late in the evening, bouncing down high on the hill above the town. Little fiddle on how to ring, head talk, you can hear it sing. a garden, depending on wheels. The sloping companion, I cast down the ash. Yanked on my tunic and dangled my stash. Zipping through the forest with a curling fleas. To grow them spindles, the mutant I seize. I capture the dread beast who falls to his knees and cries to his cohorts to sleep in the trees. Was it for this my life I saw it? Maybe so, maybe not. Maybe so, maybe not. Maybe so, maybe not. Maybe so, maybe not. Was it for this my life I saw it? Maybe so, maybe not. The soul of garlic starts to rot. Maybe so. Swindlers can't be bought. Maybe so, maybe not. Was it for this my life I saw it? Maybe so, maybe not. Was it for this my life I saw it? Maybe so, maybe not. Was it for this my life I saw it? Maybe so, maybe not. Maybe so, maybe not. Maybe so, maybe not. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. The woman was a dream I had, though rather hard to keep. For when my eyes were watching hers, they closed, and I was still asleep. For when my hand was holding hers, she whispered words and I awoke, and faintly bouncing round the room, the echo of whomever spoke. And I awoke, and faintly bouncing round the room, the echo of whomever spoke. The place I sought was far beneath the surface of the sea. My sight was poor, but I was sure the sirens sang their song for me. They dance above me as I sing. I see them through a crystal haze, and hear the sweet sound bouncing round the never-ending choral maze. The crystal haze, and hear the bouncing round the room, the never-ending choral maze. Then before I'm bouncing round the room.
That time in, and once again I'm bouncing round the room. That time in, and once again I'm bouncing round the room. That time in, and once again I'm bouncing round
the room.
That time in,
That time in, once again I'm bouncing round. And I awoke. That time faintly bouncing round the room. The echo of whomever spoke. Once again I'm bouncing round. And I awoke. That time faintly bouncing round the room. The echo of whomever spoke. Once again I'm bouncing round. And I awoke. That time faintly bouncing round the room. The echo of whomever spoke. Once again I'm bouncing round. And I awoke. That time faintly bouncing round the room. The echo of whomever spoke. Once again I'm bouncing round. And I awoke. That time faintly bouncing round the room. The echo of whomever spoke. Once again I'm bouncing round. And I awoke. That time faintly bouncing round the room. The echo of whomever spoke. Once again I'm bouncing round. And I awoke. That time faintly bouncing round the room. The echo of whomever spoke. Once again I'm bouncing round. And I awoke. That time faintly bouncing round the room. The echo of whomever spoke. Once again I'm bouncing round. That time faintly once again I'm bouncing round the room. The echo of whomever spoke. Once again I'm bouncing round the room. That time faintly once again I'm bouncing round the room. The echo of whomever spoke. Once again I'm bouncing round the room. Last night, in the moments my thoughts were adrift, and coasting the terrace, approaching a rift, through which I could spy several glimpses beneath of the darkness the light from above could not reach. I spied wings of reason, herself taking flight, and upon yonder precipice saw her light, and glare back at me one last look of dismay, as if she were the last one she thought I'd betrayed. So much the better, I said to quite close to the top of the shelf.
I struggled with destiny up on the ledge,
And gas when defeated, he slipped off the edge.
and silence contagious in moments like these.
Consumed me and strengthened my will to appease.
The passion that sparked me one terrible night,
And shocked and persuaded my soul to ignite.
The better, I said to myself,
Drawing quite close to the top of the shelf.
I struggled with destiny up on the
And
ledge.
gas when defeated, he slipped off the edge.
And silence contagious in moments like these.
Consume me and strengthen my will to
The passion that sparked me one terrible night,
and shocked and persuaded my soul to ignite.
and shocked and
Shocked and persuaded my soul to
and shocked
ignite.
and
Shocked and persuaded my soul to ignite. Shocked and persuaded my soul to ignite. Shocked and persuaded my
I could weigh it. What do you say?
5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds.
I'd like to go to your house, gather all your razors, and cut all the little prickly hair so I could weigh them. What do you say?
5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds.
Gather all your friends, push them into a small swimming pool so I could weigh them.
What do you say? 5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds.
Why weigh on a sunny day? So much to do, so why weigh on a sunny day? Why so I could weigh them. What do you say? 5 pounds, 6 pounds, 7 pounds. Why weigh on a sunny day? So much to do, so why weigh on a sunny day? Why weigh?
Reba stick a boulder in the water. A Reba tied her to a tree. Reba sticking a game with lipstick, flip, flip, fly, paper, ring, press a razor to a slide, press a needle with a broom. I need deep in the motel tones. Reba dang a little from a lip. Dip, sip. Reba babble to the night with lipstick, perfume, motor to a foreign truck. Take a peek at the sheet, Reba chill on the ground. A cage, stick a boulder in the water. Tie a cable to a tree. Mother nature to the night with a lipstick, perfume, Reba punch a platform left with thunder in a circle. Down the pipes. Bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Picked up a jar, unscrewed the top and watched it drop into the water. A little
scoop of plaster, mix some coffee grounds and mud, and then she stirred it with a ladle that her grandmother had bought her. Threw in a pot of melted wax, a 4-foot and a hoof, apple core, worms galore, a can of some corrosive, coconuts and chloroform, some wicker and some cork, toxic waste of purple paste, she was non-explosive. We would dip a ladle for a taste of her creation, and she knew that what she made would be the finest in the nation. Bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher at the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher at the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher at the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, bag it, tag it, now sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it.
Bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it. Bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it, sell it to the butcher in the store. Oh, bag it, tag it. Pressure builds, you buy a gift. You're hoping that your dread will lift. It glitters on her like a glass. You shut her as it comes to pass. Apologize to Lucy Lil. Converse with Ed, a drive with Jill. Your friends can find you in their worlds. One by one, a string of pearls. Confused, you say, this isn't me. You hover in their unity. Machine you slowly lose your grasp. Release the links, undo the glass. The skin that drips down off the tree or peels back slowly from your knee. Erupts into your lung and heart. You laugh and laughing,
Fall apart.
laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. Laughing, laughing, fall apart. away. break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. I look into the finance box just to check my status. I look into the microscope, I see the apparatus. Gogi, oh, woe is me. You can't even see the sea. Gogi, gogi, go, go. They call him Liza's zone because he runs so fast. Runs like a junkyard dog with a brain of brass. Woe is me, you can't even see the sea. Gogi, gogi, go, gogi, go. I saw you with a ticket stub in your hand. I saw you with a ticket stub in your hand. I saw you with a ticket stub in your hand. I saw you under the light, middle of the night, couldn't get it wrong.
elastic sheet I'm breathing through a slice. Are they worms or are they serpents bubbled through the ice? The source was quite invisible, the ever-present voice. While skating both legs, tracing different shapes, I made my choice. Mimicking the image in whose radiance I bask. I'm tied to him or him to me, depending who you ask. Nonetheless, reluctantly, reflections tumble in. I slide with all the others on the wrong side of the skin. He's falling on the ice and cracks. Will he plunge in and join me here? Meets my eyes to my surprise. Life's the full light of my frown. My double wants to pull me down. Slipping on the friction slide, my skin peels to the bone. The flesh I leave behind is something that is not my own. I beg my mirror image for a moment with my soul. He's pleading back time to attack. It's me who's in control. Every move I make, he's got a hand up just in time. He's throwing several punches and he's blocking most of mine. Defeated, now I sulk and squirm in mud with frozen mice, waiting, calculating till next adventure's on the ice. He's falling on the ice and cracks. Will he plunge in and join me here? Meets my eyes to my surprise. He laughs the full light of my frown. My double wants to pull me down.
This point in time here, if you guys can come with us, we're going to kind of take you to another place and tell you a little story.
Okay, this story takes place. I'm just doing this because I haven't had such a great, attentive, quiet audience in such a long time, years. So I want to tell you guys this story here. Okay, what we were just singing about there in that last song here is this thing where the guy is skating out in the middle of the ice, and he's sort of attached to his mirror image on the ice, and he starts to have a battle with his mirror image, and his mirror image reaches up and is trying to drag him down into the ice. And right now we're kind of sunk down into the ice, below the ice. And down in this ice here, we're going to kind of travel down into a different land. Now, if you come with me, please, you can kind of picture off in the distance here, a green field stretching off in the distance, and the forest rising up over that way, and a mountain coming up out of the forest. And this is a place called Gamehenge. Now, so if you can imagine that we're all there now. For thousands of years, millions of years, eons, Gamehenge was one of the most peaceful and beautiful places in the universe. People lived in peace and harmony with nature, and these people were called the lizard people, and everything was great. They had a god that they prayed to that lived up on top of the mountain, and his name was the great and knowledgeable Iculus. Now, Iculus had written this book for the people, and it was called the Helping Friendly Book, and it had been written so long ago that no one could even remember. It had been around forever, and the book sort of gave them their reason for being, and it told them how to stay in peace with nature and peace with the trees and the land and everything. So like I said, for eons, thousands of years, everything was great. They were living in beautiful harmony. Eventually, one day, this traveler came along, and he came from a sort of a later time, and he came along and he saw all these innocent people. And since he had already been corrupted by society and everything outside of this little community, he saw the potential for enslaving these people and using them for power. So what he did was he stole the book from them, and he built a castle, cut down all the trees, and built this huge castle that raised out of the forest. He hid the book in the highest tower in the castle and declared himself king. And without the book, these people were pretty much helpless. So he enslaved them and gained a lot of power from this. Now, one day in another sort of part of the universe, there was this guy named Colonel Forbin. And unbeknownst to him, he was shaving in his mirror one day, and everything was cool. But his life was he was older, he's a retired colonel, and his life was kind of going nowhere. And he's walking his dog out there one day, McGrupp, the watchful dog. And as he's walking along, he's kind of going over the crest of this hill, and he sees this sort of, it's sort of just in the air, there's a little bit of an imaging thing here, things kind of swirling around, and it caught his curiosity. And so he walked towards it, came up to this thing, and as he got to it, he stepped through. And he found himself in a corridor that was leading as far as the eye could see down to a tiny pinpoint of light. At this point, he sings this little song. Passing through the corridor, I came upon an aging knight who leaned against the wall in gnarly armor. He was on his way to see the king. Wilson, Wilson, Wilson. He led me through the streets of Prussia talking as he tried to crush a bug that scurried underneath his boot heel. He said there was a place where we should go. So he led me through the forest to the edge of a lagoon, by which we wandered till we reached a bubbly spring. The night grew very quiet as we stood there. He lifted up his visor and he turned to me and he began to sing. He said, I come from the land of darkness. He said, I come from the land of doom. He said, I come from the land of Gamehenge, from the land of the big baboon. But I never am going back there, and I couldn't if I tried, cause I come from the land of lizards, and the lizards they have died, and the lizards they have died, and the lizards they have died, and the lizards they have died.
lizards were a race of people practically extinct from doing things smart people don't do. He said he was once a lizard too. His name was Rutherford the Brave, and he was on a quest to save his people from the fate that lay before them. Their clumsy end was perilously near. The lizards would be saved, he said, if they could be enlightened by the writings of the helping friendly book. In all of Prussia only one existed, and Wilson had declared that any person who possessed it was a crook. He said, I come from the land of darkness, said I come from the land of doom, said I come from the land of game hedge, from the land of the big baboon. But I never am going back there, and I couldn't if I tried, cause I come from the land of lizards, and the lizards they have died, and the lizards they have died, and the lizards they have died, and the lizards they have. The helping friendly book, it seemed, possessed the ancient secrets of eternal joy and never-ending splendor. The trick was to surrender to the flow. We walked along beneath the moon. He led us through the bush till soon we saw before our eyes a raging river. He said we can swim it if we try. And saying this, the night dove in, forgetting that his suit of arms would surely weigh him down, and so he sunk. And as his body disappeared before me, I bowed my head in silence and remembered all the thoughts that he had thought. He said, I come from the land of darkness, said I come from the land of doom, said I come from the land of game hedge, from the land of the big baboon. But I never am going back there, and I couldn't if I tried, cause I come from the land of lizards, and the lizards they have Okay, so at this point, just to recap, here's what's happened. Colonel Thorburn has come down, and he's come into this corridor, and he meets up with this guy named Rutherford the Brave, who's this knight from the Gamehenge here. Some of the city in Gamehenge is called Prussia, after the famous Prussia, and Wilson is the evil king. So Colonel Thorburn comes down and he meets Rutherford the Brave, and they walk down the aisle, and Rutherford starts to tell him all about the history of Gamehenge, the Helping Friendly Book, Wilson, and they go off and they stand next to this lagoon for a while, and they go up and they're up next to this raging river, and Rutherford, he's not too bright, falls into the river with a suit of armor on, sinks to the bottom. So Colonel Thorburn, standing by the side of the river, doesn't know what he's going to do. Rutherford is sinking at the bottom of this raging river, when suddenly he looks across the river, and he sees this huge sort of hairy monster, and then this other four-legged beast with a beautiful woman on it who comes riding up towards him. And this is Tila. So Tila comes riding up towards him on this thing called the multi-beast, which is a big, hairy, four-legged creature with long, sort of curly hair that's got these sort of brown splotches and white splotches all over it. She comes riding up, and her sidekick of sorts is this guy named the Unit Monster. Now, the Unit Monster is a huge, strong beast, and he dives into the water, swims to the place where Rutherford the Brave has sank, and lifts Rutherford up, saves him, brings him over to the shore, and puts him down. Now, Rutherford is recovering. Colonel Thorburn, in the meantime, is not paying any attention to this at all, because this woman, Tila, has ridden up on this multi-beast, and he's looking up at Tila, and he's falling in love. He's never seen such a beautiful woman before in his life, and he looks up at her, and he's kind of got these eyes, and he's looking up, and he starts to sort of imagine this little song going through the inside of his head.
The sky is burning in this lonely land, and I kneel by the river, and I feel the sand and the wind from beyond the mountains, the wind from beyond the mountains. And she comes to me in this lonely land, and looks down from the multi-beast on which she rides like the wind from beyond the mountains, the wind from beyond the mountains. As I look into her eyes, my frozen heart begins to thaw and burn till layer after layer melts away into a sky blue mirror of her My soul is made of marble, but in her gaze I crumble Tila, jewel of Wilson's foul domain. 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 A lullaby, the breezes whisper.
Okay, so Colonel Foreman is looking up now into the face of this beautiful woman, realizes he's in love, doesn't know what he's going to do about it, but in the meantime, you've got this knight here, Rutherford the Brave, who's basically half drowned, and they've got to get him back to where he comes from, so they decide to pile him up on top of the multi-beast and go for a little ride through the woods. So they pick the knight up. Okay, they pick the knight up, they put him on the back of the multi-beast, they put Colonel Forbin up there, and they put Teal up there, and they start to ride through the woods. So they're riding along through the woods, and it's getting darker and darker as they go deeper into the woods. And Tila starts to look down here at Colonel Forbin and explain the whole situation to him, telling him that Wilson, came in, took over, took the book, enslaved all these people, and has turned their life into a living hell. So what's happened is this band of revolutionaries has sort of started to crop up, and they're in the woods. Turns out that Rutherford the Brave is in with the revolutionaries. He's sort of used to work in the army with Wilson, and now he's kind of a spy. Tilo, of course, is one of the leaders of the revolution. She starts to tell him about this other guy who's really the head honcho here, Aaron Wolf. Now, as they ride through the woods, they get closer and closer, and eventually they come upon this little clearing, and they see sort of an encampment, tents set up all over the place, and camouflage and the whole deal. And in the middle of the clearing here is this guy, Aaron Wolf. And as they look, hatred in his eyes, this evil guy, and he's standing there with his fist raised in anger, and he's singing this song here about Wilson here.
Wilson, king of Prussia, I lay this hate on you. Wilson, Duke of Lizards, I beg it all true for you. Talk about Duke of Mountain, helping friendly book. And as far as fiefdom, I think you bad crook. Wilson, king of Prussia, I lay this hate on you. Wilson, Duke of Lizards, I beg it all true for you.
So they ride into the clearing here, and there's Aaron Wolf singing this song about how much he hates Wilson and everything. Tila gets down and introduces herself, introduces Colonel Foreman to Aaron Wolf, and they start talking. You know, this guy's okay. And so Aaron Wolf starts to tell Tila some bad news, and that's that. You see, they have this whole revolutionary group here, has little people that are hooked up with Wilson's regime and everything in order to help the. Sorry, just looking at this guy down here. These people are in with Wilson's regime, and the whole way this revolution is happening is basically by people that work within the Wilson's whole crew there. One of the guys is this guy named Mr. Palmer. Now, Mr. Palmer is basically an financial guy, and he's been stealing funds from Wilson and shifting them to the revolutionaries in order to fund this whole revolution. The bad news, of course, is that Wilson has just found out about this whole thing, and Mr. Palmer is about to get hung in the public square. So meanwhile here, these guys are the thing, and we go to the public square and to witness this hanging. Now in this strange land, instead of a normal hangman, they have this sort of electronic hangman machine that comes out called the AC/DC bag. And it's got this black bag over its head, and it's kind of this robot thing here rolling out on wheels. And Mr. Palmer is standing there, and the scaffolding on the thing with the nooses coming down around his neck, and Wilson is standing on the side. The evil Wilson is looking at him, and they get ready for the hanging here. And Wilson sings this little song to him. Mr. Palmer is concerned with a $1,000 question. Just like Roger, he's a crazy little kid. I've got the time if you've got the inclination. So cheer up, Palmer, you'll soon be dead. The noose is hanging, at least you won't die wondering. Sit up and take notice, tell it like it is. If I were near you, I wouldn't be far from you. I've got a feeling you know what you did. AC/DC bag, AC/DC bag, AC/DC bag, DC bag, AC/DC bag, AC/DC bag, AC/DC bag, DC bag. Time to put your money where your mouth is. I'll put them in a field and let them fight it out. I'm running so fast, my feet don't touch the ground. I'm a stranger here, I'm going down. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Let's get the show on the road. I'll show you mine if you show me yours. I'm breathing hard, open the door. AC/DC bag, AC/DC bag, AC/DC bag, DC bag, AC/DC bag, AC/DC bag, AC/DC bag, DC bag. Brain dead and made of money, no future at all. Pull down the blinds and run for cover, no future at all. Who would have thought it? That's where I am, no future at all. Don't sweat it, that's where I am. Whoa, carry me down, 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 down.
So Mr. Palmer goes down the tubes, and that's the end of it for him. So things are starting to look pretty bad for the revolution here. So meanwhile, back at the camp, people are talking. Things are looking worse and worse. And basically, what it all comes down to is that Colonel Forbin, he sees an option that no one's has seen before, and he decides that he's going to go to the mountain. He's going to go straight to the source. So he's going to climb up this mountain here, and he's going to try to find Iculus. Now, no one even knows if Iculus actually exists because this book has been around for so long. It's all become legend. And no one has ever dared to go up on the mountain because it's sacred land. But things have gotten so desperate that Colonel Forbin decides he's going to climb up the mountain and try to find Iculus himself. So at this point in time, he leaves the revolutionaries behind, leaves the camp, and starts wandering into the forest towards the mountain in the distance. And wiped away the beads of sweat that glistened on his brow. His tired feet were buried in the quagmire. In his bloodshot eyes saw all that lay between him and fulfillment of his vow. And he felt his fingers wrap around the knotted root and pull his body upwards to a sea green mossy boulder, and he dragged his weary shit ass up the mountain, and he climbed so slowly, he climbed so slowly ahead. Heard the crack of thunder, and the rocks began to crumble overhead, and tumbled down the mountain to a dismal swamp that lay beneath the jagged cliffs through which his path had led. And the earth began to quake beneath his feet, and a mighty mountain changed before his eyes, and he stood amidst the sea dust and bricks and stones cascading down the mountain, and 1,000 birds were headed for the sky. Whoa. The sacred creed will be yours. And if you wait until tomorrow, the sacred creed will be yours to devour, yours to seize and to obey. Obey. Dust had cleared, the colonel lifted up his head and was driven to his knees by a blazing beam of light, and he saw the silhouette that stood before him, and he bowed in reverence, trembling in the shadow of the mighty legend's form. Iculus, the prophet, stood before his eyes, looking down on Colonel Forbin, where he shuddered in the puddles and the muck. And he quietly addressed him, and he spoke so slowly, he spoke so slowly, he said,
Foreman, I know why you've come here, and I'll help you with your quest to gain knowledge that you lack. I call upon my faithful friend, the mockingbird, to fly and seize the helping book and get you a shot. And the tree of knowledge in your soul will grow, and the helping friendly book will plant the seed. But I warn you that all knowledge, sitting innocent and pure, becomes a deadly weapon in the hands of avarice and greed. Whoa. The sacred greed will be yours. And if you wait until tomorrow, the sacred greed will be yours to devour, yours to seize and to obey. So Colonel Foreman gets up to the top of the mountain. The mountain starts to quake and crumble all around him. The whole mountain is falling apart, boulders tumbling down everywhere until the whole face of the mountain turns into the face of the great and knowledgeable Iculus. And he's looking up at Iculus, and Iculus is looking down, and Iculus says, okay, I'm going to help you out here. I'm going to send for my friend, the famous Mockingbird. He's going to go get the book out of the castle, steal it for you, and bring it back. But he sends him along with this warning, and he says, you know, a book that has all the knowledge inherent in the universe is not necessarily such a good thing, so you better watch out, because the people here, the lizard people and game hens, used to have this book, and they were so innocent that they didn't really see the possibility of using it in any other way except for good ways. Now this guy Wilson has come along with his corrupted ideals, enslaved them. They're all, you know, it's terrible that he's done this, but the thing is that he's kind of brought this germ with him. So Iculus tells Colonel Foreman, I'm going to send this book down here, but you better watch out who gets their hands on it, because you never know now. So at this point in time, the famous Mockingbird comes flying out of the sky, flying out of the sky, flying out of the sky, and he goes over to the castle, and he gets the book, and he brings it back. So here it comes.
mockingbird. Famous mockingbird. Famous mockingbird comes and he grabs the book out of the castle, steals it from Wilson and brings it back, flies to the camp of the revolutionaries. Now Aaron Wolf is standing there and he's surrounded by sort of his cronies, and the mockingbird comes and lays the book at his foot, and he sees it down there and he starts to get this glimmer in his eye. It's the book that he's been after for years. So he picks up the book, has it in his hands, and he starts to get this idea in the back of his head. He said, now that he's got the book, if he could just get rid of Wilson, then he could have all the power himself. So he thinks about a friend of his that lives way in the depths of the heart of the city of Prussia, the meanest, most ugly guy in all of Prussia. And he's going to hire this guy to help him kill Wilson. So he needs this guy to knock Wilson off. So he goes into town and he finds this guy. This guy's name is the Sloth. So now he's going in to find the Sloth to help him kill Wilson.
The sloth comes in there, takes care of Wilson, and now Wilson's dead. And so things go on from here, and there's lots of other songs that go along with this story. We're gonna do one more tune here. That, if you can picture now, we're going out to the edge of Gamehenge here, and you've got this shepherd out there. And it's years later. Everything after that went pretty much downhill in Gamehenge, and never got any better. It became sort of a war-torn thing. And this shepherd is gonna sort of tell his story about the way things happened and wrap the whole thing up here. So come with us here out into the edge of the edge of
alternated my meager flock to the shores of the Baltic Sea. The teeth of time have stowed the rhyme of how things should be. My cave, my house, my turning wheel, my little docking pub. The march of Colonel Forbin and his fleet hound called McGrub. Has collected in my sink. I tie my nose with spandex hose before I get a drink. We lie on frozen warthogs with its poison in our minds, while the ferns that spot our children are encased in orange rinds. All times and seasons are the reasons people and their clans have stowed the famous mockingbird with glue and rubber bands. They writhe and cry in agony as Rutherford the Brave chokes Tila and the unit monster managing to save the spotted striper's multi-beast, and thereby cheers grave. I'd like to get his autograph, but he looks too much like Dave. He looks too much like Dave. He looks too much like Dave. He looks too much. 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 He looks too much.
that you move. And I'm sharing in a week of pie groove. Trying to make a woman that you move.
Hey.
And I'm sharing in a week of pie groove. Trying to make a woman that you move. And I'm sharing in a week of pie groove.
trying to make a woman that you move. And I'm sharing in the week apart groove. Trying to make a woman that you move. Sharing the groove. And I'm sharing in the week apart groove. And I'm sharing in the week apart groove. And I'm sharing in the week apart groove.
Thanks a lot. Okay, we'll see you guys.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see, I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to embrace my fear relief. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home, when we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. When we first begun.